This video is part 1 in a 2-part series where I go through what remains of my childhood doll collection. I am currently on vacation and cleaning out my storage at my family's home. Oh, nostalgia. But unfortunately, this is kind of a makeshift video setup, so do forgive the uneven camera angles and the bad lighting, etc.
So I'm going to start with what I call It's a Small World. I had a lot of relatives who traveled a lot. They would buy me little souvenir dolls from random places they visited. So I have a lot of dolls that look like they came from European countries. I think this doll might be from Switzerland. She's pretty cute. I'm gonna guess these both are from Scotland. Definitely her. Maybe her. Then we have this one. I don't know where she's from. Or at least I don't know where they bought her. She has a tag that says made in Hong Kong, but obviously they picked her up at some little tourist shop wherever they were visiting. Here's another one I can't identify. She has a very colorful skirt. Then we have this doll. I don't know where she's from. I always kind of thought Holland because of the tulips on her skirt. She's got this city illustration on her apron that I don't recognize, and then this word down here that I don't know what that says. But if you know, comment below. Then we have this little boy and girl from Germany. Just tiny little dolls. They're pretty cute. Then I have this doll that was from Costa Rica. She's kind of falling apart. But like I said, these dolls are just like little things that people picked up at souvenir shops for me. So they're not like expensively made. They're mostly plastic. And her eyes close. I really like this one because she's so tiny. I would guess Jamaica because I did have a relative visit Jamaica, but I'm not entirely sure. But she's such a little doll and she has articulation at the hips and shoulders. Her little nails are painted. She's got some little jewelry. She's just really tiny and cute. Then we have this doll, which is supposedly from Japan. It says made in China, but I believe they bought her in Japan. Then we have this doll from Mexico. I love the details on her clothing, but she's very old and the glue and plastic has deteriorated, so her head is coming off her neck. My uncle was Hawaiian and Japanese, born in Hawaii, so I have a couple of Hawaiian dolls. I have this one, this very pretty dress, and this little fabric lei and her little hat. She's very pretty. And I have this one, which is a music box. She is a bridal themed doll on a music box, and I think I have her because my aunt was married in this style of dress. Then we have this doll, and this doll I believe is from a craft show, and somebody saw it and thought I would like it, and I do. I'm not sure if she's supposed to be like a Bedouin or just a lady from the Middle East maybe, but she's got some really nice clothes, long black dress with gold trim, of course. Beautiful detail in her headdress. And then she's wearing very colorful pants and some little sandals. And she's handmade. I also have this marionette, which I assume is supposed to be Japanese, I guess. And then finally we have this doll, and this is interesting. I'm pretty sure it's from the 70s. And somebody went to Canada and brought it back for me. So this doll, I mean, when I was a kid, I just thought of it as some kind of cartoon character. But what's interesting about this doll is that it is distributed, or perhaps the doll itself, was made by something called Central Marketing Services in Ontario. But the clothing was actually made by the Ojibways of, I don't know how to pronounce this, but I'm going to give it a shot, Manitoulin Island in Ontario, Canada. Another doll I've had since childhood is this Shirley Temple doll. She came out in 1972 by a company called Ideal. She has glass inset eyes, and she's made of like vinyl, I think. Here's another doll by Ideal. This doll is from the early 60s. Her name is Tammy. This was my mother's doll, which I inherited. And you can see she has a very distinct 60s look. But she does have a very pretty face. Rooted hair. Kind of a plastic or maybe vinyl body. And she has articulation at the shoulder and hips. I believe a later version of Tammy came out where her legs were bendable, but we don't have that version. And here are some of her original clothing items from the Tammy line. She was supposed to be kind of like a competitor of Barbie, but like more of a girl next door than Barbie. The Barbie of the 60s was like an international fashion model, and Tammy was supposed to be more like the teenage girl who lived next door to everybody. Then I had this pretty large porcelain doll collection. The reason I had this doll collection is I was obsessed with certain stories like The Little Princess and The Secret Garden, and those characters often have little porcelain head dolls, and I just became obsessed with them as a kid. So most of these dolls are from the 80s, and they have some very detailed costumes, some of them. This one came with a parasol that works. Here's another one with a very detailed costume. Some, like this one, have a music box in their back. These are another pair with very detailed costumes, and they always reminded me of that old fairy tale of Rose Red and Snow White, I think it was. But they have really kind of detailed faux fur and velvet costumes. And this one, they both have little hand warmers, but this one actually, she has a cape. Then I have a few of these little dolls. I don't remember where any of them came from, but I do know after looking at her tag that this is like an Avon collectible doll, and she's dressed like a princess. She reminded me of like Guinevere or something from King Arthur legend. As I said, all of these are from the 80s except for this little girl. I bought her when I was in southern Spain in the 90s, and I saw her at a Spanish department store. It's a pretty big department store, but I can't remember the name at this moment in time. She was just so adorable. She was very inexpensive, and I just thought she was so cute, and I didn't have any dolls like her, so I picked her up immediately and brought her back from Spain.